Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at uenradio.com.
It's time for the Bonnie Sher Show, a whirlwind of wit, wisdom, celebrity, and the boomer life. With a little bit of this and a lot of that and so much more you don't want to miss, here's Bonnie.
He's dancing. Well, hello. Another great start for the Bonnie Sher Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to all of you, new friends, old friends, close by friends, far away friends, friends who've just found us for the first time, those of you who've been with me for a while. I appreciate each and every one of you being with me here today. And my name is Bonnie Sher. I'm your host through the worlds of entertainment, the boomer generation, and the type 1 diabetes community. So thank you. Thank you very much for tuning in. And please feel free to join the conversation. The call-in number here for you is 323-843-2826. Tell us what you're thinking. Now, before we get this show on the road, I would like to figure out. I've been doing this 3 minutes. I've lost my place already. But no, I really know what I'm saying. I really do. So here's what the thing is. We have some wonderful guests here with us for you today. My first guest up is Reverend Michael Faulkner, followed by my type 1 co-host, Anna Valenzuela. And before we go any farther, I want to acknowledge jazz great Wayne Cobham for my super duper hero theme song. Thank you, Wayne. And I also would like to thank Corey Bowen of Crown and Anchor Jewelry, who provides me with the jewelry that I wear on the show in exchange for this promotional message. You can find Corey under Crown and Anchor on Etsy, or hit me up at bonniesher.com and I'll hook you up. Now that I got all of that out of the way, what am I doing now that we have everything out of the way? Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to have a short, see, there's a break. Why can't I just write down break? And I would know, because I don't do that. We do have a break coming up, a short one. But then when we come back, I will be introducing you to my first guest, New York City's pastor for New Horizon Church, Michael Faulkner. See you in a few.
Your life story is more than the things you do. It's a story built on the moments you make today and the impact you have on others. How big is your story going to be? Live your legend.
Back. Today we have with us Reverend Michael Faulkner. And I see him right now. Good day, sir. How you doing?
Hello. Thank you, Bonnie. It's great to be with you.
I so appreciate you coming on and giving us some of your time. You must be a very busy feller.
Well, for the past 3 years, I was so busy. It was like I literally thought I was losing my mind sometimes. But now things are a little slower. But we're about ready to get into a season of more busyness and activities. But I'm able to pick and choose a little bit of more of what I want to do. Not being an active candidate for any particular election. So that part of it's past or behind me. And now I'm focusing in on serving the people of the city of New York as a community activist and a minister and a businessman.
That's wonderful. That's a great. I mean, it's a good idea. I'm not your mother. I'm not even your sister. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Jarvis is about to smack me. Okay, so I'll look over at this one. Michael, I've spent some time. May I call you Michael, or would you prefer
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
then I will. How do you feel about Frank? No.
I don't know him actually. Is he there?
I got a laugh out of Jarvis. Oh my! Write that down. Write that down. February 1st, Bonnie got a giggle. Um, Things, at least in my perspective, um, are very unlike times that I've ever known before. And not only politically, I think personally, I feel that it has transcended just the political field, and that people who are not necessarily connected to politics, there's like an overflow of stuff going on, um, of ill feeling and choosing up sides. And it's like back in the talk about New York, it's like the gangs of New York. What are you upset about? You're a shark, you're a jet. You knew I get to that, ladies and gentlemen. I bring that up because not only do we have a minister with us, but I happen to know that this man played for the Jets. Yay. I was a Jet fan. By the way, your name came up Grammy night. I mentioned to somebody that you were going to be on the show, and for some reason I had you with the wrong team. And she was, no, Bonnie, he played for the Jets. Oh, okay. You want to look over the rest of my notes too? What was that like? I mean, do you carry any? I mean, I know that, well, I don't know. I presume that there's got to be a modicum of heart that goes along with being a player.
Oh yeah,
That
and
heart can do.
especially living in New York City. Oh wow, you dig it, the throwback picture. And actually, all three of those guys were all college buddies of mine. We were co-captains at Virginia Tech all the same year, so that's why we took that picture together. But it was a great experience, and what's even greater now, I mean, because I played with the NFL. The NFL stands for not for long, and I wasn't there for very long, and my 5 minutes, so to speak, has catapulted me into a lot of other things. And now, 30 years later, actually 30 years later, more than 30 years later, oh my goodness,
I know that's.
where did the time go? I'm actually still, people still note that, but I'm actually a member of the National Football League Alumni Association. And very soon, I think I'm going to be moving into a leadership position to be able to head the New York and and Long Island chapter of that organization, to
How
be able
cool
to
is
bring
that?
some harmony around some of the things that they've been doing and some more activities. And it's a great fraternity. Professional football is a great fraternity, a great group of guys and men and women who have dedicated their lives to a sport. But now we're healthy enough to still give back, and it's a great feeling because it's certainly a door opener. It's a conversation starter, and people always want to hear whether we have something to say or we don't. They want to hear about that experience. But Bonnie, I want to go back to something you said before about the way things have gotten, if I could.
Of course.
I think, as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, now in the age of information, it's almost like we give a mic to any idiot that we think that they have something to say. And we're so quote unquote politically correct that sometimes we get caught up in, rather than say, that's stupid. And who are you, or why are you speaking? Why do you have the microphone? And why are people listening to you? Well, the truth of the matter is, because in an age of information, it's like everybody that has a microphone, that has a camera, that has a device, it can somehow be an expert. And we have all of these divergent opinions about things, and we tend not to focus on the love thy neighbor that used to be the mantra of how we all wanted to live. Mm-hmm. Now it's okay to be a bully and to be a jerk. And I'm sorry, I don't like jerks. I never have. But now it seems like we give jerks the microphone and we listen to them as if their angst or their anger is valid.
I have exactly that same feeling. And it seems to cascade itself all the way around. I mean, I just came onto this expression recently. Somehow I must have turned it away. But something happens and the response is, oh, my bad. We don't even take responsibility for an apology. Okay? Right. I just ran over your dog. Oops, my bad. I don't get that. But I do see that there is a breakdown in humanity. I wonder how we got here. And more importantly, I wonder how we can get out of this. I mean, how we got here, we're here. It really, I mean, it's like, doesn't make any difference where I got the flu from. I have it. I don't want to get it back. So.
Well, I think our generation bears some responsibility because we have to forge a way forward, because we grew up in an era when people were coming together, and especially around issues of race. I've had so many of my friends call me and say they cannot believe where we are as a nation. It seems like we've gone in reverse. In fact, we've gone worse than reverse, because when we grew up, racial disharmony wasn't something we thought was okay. Racism was something that we did not like, and we did not appreciate, and we were really working to change that, and everybody was sort of working together. I'm not saying we sang Kumbaya and everything was okay.
I did. But I say, listen, excuse me 1 second. Yeah. I'm getting a notice here. We have to stop for a little breaky blue. So let's hold on to Kumbaya. And while we're doing that, we're going to tell these people these nice stories. And we'll be right back with Reverend Michael Faulkner. Stay tuned.
To be at peace with myself is the most prominent thing, and I am at peace with myself. I didn't deal this deck, I'm just playing the game. That's all. That's it. Meals on Wheels has given me a mode of freedom that I wouldn't have otherwise. Been making sure they get the nutrition that I need, and it's a balanced meal. My name is Maurice McGriff. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
In Kung Fu Panda 3, it's up to Po, that's me, to save my friends in a secret panda paradise. And I, Jack Black, am trying to save real pandas, but I can't do it all by myself. That's why I'm teaming up with my awesome buddies at WWF.
Really?
They love pandas so much their logo is a panda. Did you know there are fewer than 2,000 giant pandas left in the wild? They face a number of threats to their bamboo forest home, which is one of the many awesome things WWF is working to protect. But they need our help. Visit WWF online to learn more.
Good luck to you.
You, Po, and WWF, together, we can make a difference.
And that was my shout out to the pandas. Uh, I love Jack Black. This is my friend the panda. Anyway, let's go back and pick up where we left off. I remember the Kumbaya part, which at my age is amazing that I can remember anything. But that being said, please carry on with what you were saying, Michael.
Yeah, we had struggles, but it wasn't. How do I say? It wasn't the vitriol and the ugliness that we feel now, especially coming from all various sectors. And I, for one, want to get beyond it. And so I'm working really, really hard to live my faith, to live my life, and to live a life that is not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but that's saying we can do it together. So, you have to be the friend that you want. You have to be the kind of community leader that you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be that person. You can't just beat other people up for not being that person. And Bonnie, honestly, the great thing about quote unquote our age is that we get to say, well, I've lived that. I've made so many mistakes in the past. And now I'm not going to make those same mistakes going forward. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to encourage other people to do something different. But if enough of us are doing that different thing, it becomes the thing.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I love the way you put it, and I totally agree. You got to be the person you want to see.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're going to, that's what at least I hope that I can emulate is, I mean, I am a bleeding heart. There is no doubt about it. And I'm very comfortable with that. I'm glad everybody isn't like me. All they need to do is, or hopefully do, is understand where I'm at and why I do this. I'm not asking anybody to come on my boat.
Right.
But I don't want to be told that I shouldn't be at it.
Right. That's exactly right. I write for a paper here it's from the West Village, and because the big paper is no longer there, it's the only paper actually in Greenwich Village, and so obviously it's very the liberal tenets of the village, but they love my voice. They love hearing what I have to say, and and being inclusive, even though as a quote unquote Republican and as a minister, people might tend to think, oh no, we don't like those kinds, or we don't want his message. But you see, I'm a New Yorker. I love New York. I love all people, and I believe everybody's voice is important.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to do the very, very best I can to make sure that everybody's voice is important and people feel, listen, people may not agree with me, but just like you said, they welcome the warmth at which I present these ideas and the spirit at which I work, and we are working together to make New York a better place. And so we had a wonderful time. I see lots of pictures there from my campaign activities, and it was a very interesting campaign. The campaigning for mayor and then later for controller. And I'm not a politician. I'm a social entrepreneur. I believe in helping people be better through working together through a collective, force that we can absolutely say, what do you need in order for your life to be better, and what do I need? Just like you mentioned the type 1 diabetic community. We had a diabetes program. It was really focused on type 2 diabetes prevention and management, but I learned so much about diabetes and about what's needed and about how we can support that entire community through nutrition and through things that are generally available to everyone. And so it feels good to be alive at this point in time, but we've got a lot of work to do.
Which is probably good. That's going to keep us alive longer, Michael. In the meantime, before I let you go, I knew how to find you, but please share with the audience how they can follow you.
Sure.
Twitter.
I'm on Twitter at Michael Faulkner, Michel, no A, and they can Google me, or I'm on Twitter there. I'm also on Facebook. And I apologize, and my email at Michael at Faulkner for New York is still available if people want to email me or send me something or something. It's Michael at Faulkner for New York. But I do have quite a few followers and so forth. And I have to confess, I'm not the social media guru that I once was. I
You're a
don't,
busy
but
fella.
I do. Yeah, but I do get involved in Twitter, and that's probably where I have most of my social media conversations with people.
Okay, well, I just wanted to get that business out of the way. I'm not quite finished with you yet.
Okay.
So taking it back again, for instance, you and I were chatting about this briefly on the phone on Tuesday. Now, at this point in time, what is the message that you wish to offer, let's say, to your congregation over the last couple, 3-4 Sundays? What is it? I mean, and I live too far away or I would have been there. Could you give us an idea of where you are at with your congregation, and figuring that you have a pretty good feel and touch on what your congregation needs to hear from you? What are you talking about?
We're talking about. I'm talking about morality, and I actually, we my sermon last Sunday was "Let Justice Roll," and it really was a prophetic message given to the people of Israel at a time when they were living their lives, but were living outside of of God's commandments. And I think it's important for the church community that I speak to know that God expects us to live moral, upstanding lives, even in the midst of an immoral society. And so what people do, or the prevailing thought of the day, does not give me an excuse to live outside of what God expects of me. I have to love everyone. I have to live as a person that loves people and that carries out God's commandment to love people, regardless of whether or not they love me. That's not what the Bible says. It says love, others first, love yourself, and then love others. And we are to love, and in those two expressions, we are actually loving God. And so I'm sharing that message of hope and that message of salvation, that message of grace with everyone that will listen. And I'm trying to live it. I am a follower of Jesus, and I am excited about that. But we live in a pluralistic society. I believe and so focused on that. But you have me down as the pastor of New Horizon Church. I'm actually the founding pastor. And
you can't trust me for a second.
No, that's fine. But we have a new senior leader now, a younger man, Laban Reeves, who is an unbelievably dynamic, I say young guy because he's in his late 30s, early 40s, but he's younger than me. Yeah. He's just below the cutoff for millennial, but he gets it, and I've been able to mentor him for the past 12 years, and so it's exciting to be able to hand off the baton to him and this generation. But we continue to model the behavior and the character that we are to live as followers of Jesus and as people of goodwill.
Well, I'll tell you this, my next trip to New York, and even though I'm a little Jewish girl, I would very much like to come up and be part of your congregation and give a listen and to say howdy to you. And
absolutely,
Michael, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you're sharing, and thank you so much for being here with me today, ladies and gentlemen. This is Reverend Michael Faulkner. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, now Our song of the day is coming up next, and that song is I Want the World for You, and it's performed by Rick McKay. Okay, then.
Type 1 diabetes can be living in anyone.
Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin. It's not caused by your diet, it's not caused by anything you did.
Type 1 diabetes can be very serious.
Blindness, amputation.
Learn more about type 1 diabetes.
Help support JDRF finding a cure.
T1D looks like my brother.
T1D looks like a friend.
Type 1 diabetes looks like me.
I don't think you'll know this next song. You see, it was written for a Broadway show that was talked of but was never produced. Some years ago, there were a couple producers who decided the world was ready for a musical version of Pocketful of Miracles. Remember that movie, anyone? Well, that was based on, for those of you who don't know, an earlier film called Lady for a Day, starring May Robeson. Anyone remember May Robeson? I wouldn't admit it if I did. But it's too late now. Now we know. That movie was based on an old Damon Runyon story about Apple Annie. Apple Annie was a little old lady who used to be on the streets of New York selling apples, all the apples she could to make enough money to give her daughter the life she believed she deserved. Now that's who this song is about. In the last incarnation of that story, Apple Annie was played by Betty Davis, and a very young Anne Margaret introduced the part of the daughter. Now, knowing all of that, I'd appreciate it if you'd all quickly forget it. Because I do a dreadful Betty Davis imitation, and I'm under oath not to even attempt Anne Margaret. You'll thank me for that later. I want the world for you and everything that's in it. I want the world for you should be happy every living minute. You deserve a storybook life, especially since you found your prince. So marry that fella like Cinderella. You ought to have the world show you its Sunday manners. Open its arms and welcome you with parades and cheers and flying banners. I want the world for you are my world, and you mean the world to me. Some people have to watch all of their dreams go sour. You ought to only see the world from a 40-story ivory tower. I want the world for you are my world, and you mean the world to me.
That was my friend Rick McKay. Well, thank you for coughing. Welcome back to the Bonnie Sher Show, Boomer Life. My T1 co-host for this segment today is Anna Valenzuela, a member of the T1D community from right here in California. Hi, Anna.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I'm going to ask you what I ask all of our T1s. My first question is, share your story.
Well, after I graduated from high school, and I remember having the signs and symptoms of diabetes for about 6 months before I found out. My mother forced me to see the doctor. I was declining. No, I'm not sick. Nothing's wrong with me. Went to the doctor, had some blood drawn, and he called and he said, Anna, your blood sugar is 550. You have to come in. So I spent 3 days in the hospital getting stabilized and learning about my new condition. It was very depressing, as you could imagine. And I learned everything by watching this VCR back then, education on a VCR. And I think the two people that made me feel better was the person in the next bed in my room and a nurse educator that told me, you are not sick. Get out of bed. Let's go exercise.
Good for her.
Yes.
Good for her. See, I didn't have that. You and I were about the same ages at diagnosis. I was just finishing up high school. I was a junior, I think. Well, I know. 50 years coming up next month. Amazing. But in those years, I do remember being instructed how to inject into an orange. I would think everybody has an orange story. And did they give you any vodka in that orange? No. But I think developing the disease at that point also seemed, I know it did with me, I wasn't a kid anymore. And I certainly didn't consider myself juvenile delinquent or any other type of juvenile. But I remember I was just at the point where we were not allowed to date, but we could go out with groups.
Yes.
And while everybody else was having their cheeseburger, fries, and a chocolate malted, I had a green salad with 0-calorie dressing. And things have changed so much. This is what I'm going to ask you. I know that our control was supposed to be very tight in those days, and, well, still, but in terms of our eating, I don't remember ever hearing that you could bolus for what you were, and if you wanted that piece of chocolate cake, you could have it as long. Does that really work? I find that if I try to do that, my numbers still go up, and it's difficult for me to get them back, even with the extra bolus, unless I'm flooding myself with insulin, which I don't want to do either. Do you have any idea about what changed that shift?
And you mean back then, about 25 years ago? I think it was the DCCT study concluded in 1993, in which it was found that 2 injections a day of insulin no longer cut it. We had to do 3 to 4 injections a day. And it was right when Humalog came out versus the NPH and regular insulin, which were taken twice a day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we had a lunch. We had the so-called exchange system. Mm-hmm. And we were all very disciplined in what we ate. So I remember that.
So obviously was it that it wasn't livable that way, or they just thought
it did not mimic normal physiology, and we're still not close to normal physiology, but
Correct.
We're closer.
Right.
It did not mimic normal physiology, so if you wanted to have a little snack, you had no coverage of it. And I remember it was difficult getting out of that so-called honeymoon period when the beta cells are gone, and guess what? The blood sugars are high. I really do have this disease. I have high blood sugars. What's wrong with me? I'm a bad person. I eat something and it bumps up to 250. And granted, during my honeymoon stage, I think it was about 6 months, I didn't feel like I had the disease. Mm-hmm. Blood sugars were perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I ran cross country for college. I was one of the top runners, and things changed.
Well, I know that sports is very much, or interesting to me. I marvel at the photos that I saw of you doing what you do. I don't run. I don't climb. because I'm a chicken. Has nothing to do with my diabetes. I'm just a chicken. What got you interested in that? I mean, we all know how marvelous. I mean, I can still remember Little Exercise Eddie from 50 years ago when I was first diagnosed. I don't remember Eddie climbing mountains, but tell me, how did that all get started for you?
What happened was when I was in the hospital, I called two individuals. One was the cross-country coach, and I told her I just got diagnosed with diabetes, and I cannot run on the team. And the second person I called was the Army recruiter. I was also thinking about joining the military. So I would train every morning at the same time the cross-country team was training. The coach said, Anna, you need to join the team. I'm like, I'm just learning how all this is working. She's like, I'll take care of you. Her name is Grace Abiyafi, by the way. Slowly but surely, I learned about how to, do the glucose when I'm running. They would always drive next to the team and have some sugar for me. And I missed a medal by one time by one person because I just got hypoglycemic right before the cutoff where I could have gotten a cross-country medal. What cross-country taught me with diabetes was that I was a strong person and that I could accomplish anything I wanted to while living with type 1 diabetes. And I felt normal, feeling like having such an abnormal existence with the injections and the food. I felt healthy and strong, and family and friends, oh, you look okay. Are you okay? And I also wanted to prove them wrong, that I was a strong person.
Isn't
and I was
that
not
the
sick.
truth? Isn't that good for you?
I think that I pushed myself a little bit too much at times, but that's okay.
I think he's teaching us a new dance. Do you remember that dance? We used to go like that. Stage directors, what can I tell you? And stop it. Stop it. Guys, I know what I was doing. And if there was one thing that you could share with the T1 community today that might ease them up a little bit on themselves. I feel that we tend to be very hard on ourselves. And I know I can remember back to those early days saying, well, what did I do? I must have pissed off somebody. And intellectually, I know that's not accurate, but I don't know that what we feel is necessarily based on intellectual properties, that we feel like what we feel. And if there was a magic wand I could wave over newly diagnosed diabetics, is how special we are.
Yes.
And how I sit literally and figuratively in a different chair now. During the majority of my career, I did not speak about my diabetes. I started to do fundraising, though, for what was at the time JDRF, which was a very small group. Actually, first they were JDF, then they were JDRF, along with the University of Miami, so they now have the DRI. And I was able to speak for them and to raise money, but I cried. And I didn't mean to cry to engage them, and I cried.
Yeah.
And I think that as a youngster, I found that as a failing in me. And now I'm starting to see that my diabetes is possibly my greatest strength.
I think anything is possible when you're newly diagnosed with diabetes. I personally went to nursing school. I became a diabetes educator. And
good for you.
I challenged my body physically in marathons, obstacle course racing, Mount Whitney a few years ago. And I found a great husband that shares the same passion of the outdoors with me. And you will be able to do almost anything you want to do in life while living with diabetes.
Well, I hope you're all listening to this because you're hearing the Emmis now. This is the truth. There's nothing we can't do. So just keep that in your spirit and know. And if you forget, listen to this show again. Or you can write to me and I'll remind you. It's true. I want to thank you, Anna, for taking your time from your day to come and join us today. I want to stay in touch with you. And before I let you go there, please tell the audience how they can follow you and your sporting and your diabetesness and just you.
Well, you could actually find me on Facebook under Anna Karenin, Karenin. That's my middle name. You will see a photograph of myself and my husband on our wedding.
How long have you been married? Just
1 year and 6 months.
Doggy. They're getting down off the mountain for us today.
Yes.
I'm really impressed by all of it. I swear I'm going to try doing something sometime. But that's a whole other conversation. Anna, you take good care of yourself. And again, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is Anna. If any of our fellow T1s would like to occupy this chair and be my T1 co-host for an episode, it's very easy. All you have to do is write to me, Bonnie@BonnieSher.com. We'll find a date, and voila. It's really that simple. Oh, wait a second. I have another break coming up. See you in 60 seconds.
I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm a social worker. When I found out that I had hepatitis C, I was a single mother, and I was absolutely terrified.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, estimates there are close to 3 million baby boomers infected with hepatitis C. Because there can be no symptoms for decades, most don't even know it. But if detected in time, Hep C can be cured, and the treatment is simple.
Today I feel great. I'm a healthy 65-year-old. I bike to work, I go to the gym, and I've cleared the virus.
The CDC is urging everybody born between 1945 and 1965 to get tested. It's an easy one-time blood test that may be covered by insurance.
I got a disease that could have killed me, but I saved my own life by getting tested.
Don't wait. Ask your doctor about getting tested for Hep C, because knowing is everything.
And we're back. Okay, let's see what we have coming up now. I know what we have coming up. Coming up, we have today's Boomer News, which comes to us from Pfizer. And this particular one is entitled Patti LaBelle Gets a New Attitude on Vaccination. Have a look at this.
Patti LaBelle is looking for backup singers, 65 and older, who boom.
I'm so excited. I mean, just to sing one note in front of Patti, it's just like, I'm done. That's it. I'm good. Hi, Patti.
Hi, sweetie.
I am such a big fan of yours.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Well, right now, girl, you better sing. Terry, cue it up, baby.
What the singers don't know is that we rigged the microphone so it sounds like they have pneumococcal pneumonia, a potentially serious but vaccine-preventable disease.
I'm feeling good from my hat to my shoes. Know where I'm going and I know what to do. I tidied up my point of view.
I'm in control of my ways of you. 'Cause I got love like I never knew.
Then, Patti let the singers in on it.
I got Gotcha.
Even if you're healthy, pneumococcal pneumonia can strike anywhere, anytime, and keep you from doing the things you love.
I'm feeling good from my head to my shoes. Know where I'm going and I know what to do.
If you're 65 or older, even if you're healthy, get a new attitude about the risks of pneumococcal pneumonia and talk to your doctor about the importance of vaccination.
And now we have the views from my soapbox, which is my take on who I feel got it right and who should be terribly ashamed. First, I'd like to give a shout out. I played a piece of music earlier by an artist named Rick McKay. Rick was a brilliant performer. He was a historian of theater. He was a filmmaker, as a matter of fact. His film Broadway, The Golden Age, is a must-see. Rick passed away last week. The Broadway community is devastated, far too young. And our hearts are with you, Ricky. So wherever you are, we love you, man. We love you. And my shout down, I had written something for today's shout down about, sort of about how difficult we make it for one another. But I'm putting that aside to keep more timely as I was getting ready for today's show. I heard about yet another school shooting. This one occurred here close to downtown Los Angeles. They went everywhere around with this story, but the one thing that nobody even really dealt with is how, in fact, that gun got into the school. If we can't get the guns off the street, well, at least, please God, let's keep them out of the schools. Somebody needs to take responsibility. Now that I've said that to you, and I'm going to say goodbye really soon, like now. But before I do, I want to thank our guests for today, Reverend Michael Faulkner and my T1 co-host, Anna Valenzuela. So that's my show, and I hope y'all will be back. Y'all. Where did I pick that up from? Next week for another 50-minute look at celebrity, the boomer life, and T1 diabetes. Until then, you can follow me on BonnieSher.com. You take a visit over there, see all the neat new stuff we have up there. Follow the number 1 Bonnie Sher on Twitter. And I would also like you to give a like to the Bonnie Sings Lena, Lena, Facebook fan page. Many of you by now are very aware of the wonderful relationship that existed between me and Sammy Davis Jr. He was my mentor and he was my friend, and so I like to end each of these shows sort of Carol Burnett style, with a wink and a nod. This one's to you, Mr. D. See y'all next week.